deep, but fundamentally, as we've said, the backbone is the AREVA work, and the AREVA work had two aspects. One was an assessment of stability ratios, crediting no supports, assuming the support structure is not effective at damping, with a stability ratio of 1.0, which demonstrated at 70%, we would have an operating period prior to the next inspection of 16, 18 months. So the stability ratio calculation is based on the thermal hydraulics, principally, okay?
So essentially that was saying you could operate for a period of time without FEI occurring.
Without FEI occurring.
Is that the assumption?
Not crediting the anti-vibration bars for any damping.
Okay.
Okay. Then the more sophisticated one, more conservative with a 0.75 stability ratio, credited the anti-vibration bars, used that sophisticated statistical analysis based on measured data out of Unit 2 and measured data out of Unit 3 to develop a model over the 10,000 tubes and the 12 contact points per tube, to develop a statistical model of the contact points and contact force and apply that to the FEI calculations, crediting damping and showing we're acceptable under a 0.75 stability ratio, which is conservative, for at least an 8-month period before the next inspection.
Okay, just significant difference from a traditional operational assessment where you would assume a wear rate and the tube would not exceed structural integrity requirements for a certain period. This operational assessment is saying we can operate as long as we do not get the phenomena to occur.
Yeah, this one.
In other words, the unpredictable.
That's a good point. Typically, your criteria in an operational assessment is to assure you maintain steam generator integrity, and assuming some sort of wear or corrosion phenomena would continue, and frequently treating that statistically, sometimes deterministically, okay? In this case, we set an even more conservative trigger, in the AREVA work. The assumption is not that FEI occurs and it's okay for 16, 18 months or 8 months. It's there's a 95% probability that FEI will simply not occur. That's the difference in the criteria I believe you're alluding to.
Right.
And again, that's fully described in the CAL submittal. And again, we're looking forward to getting into more depth of that with the staff in the subsequent meetings.
Yep.
Now, let me summarize the actions. I've talked quite a bit through the evening about this. Fundamentally, a power reduction of 70%. It significantly reduces fluid velocities. That's where that's less energy causing the tubes to vibrate. It significantly reduces the void fraction or steam quality, which leads to better damping in the support structure. And that power reduction keeps us out of a thermal hydraulic regimen where fluid elastic instability will occur. Secondly, preventive plugging of tubes. This gets to some of the earlier questions. We looked at Unit 3, where the tube damage occurred. We look at the thermal hydraulic calculations, and we said there are X number of tubes that are susceptible at 100% power. We elected to be conservative and add even more margin and plug all those tubes. Even though it's 70%, I could realistically show they're not susceptible, we plug those tubes. And that is fully described in the confirmatory action letter response. Furthermore, we're proposing a 5-month operating window prior to the next shutdown and inspection. Significantly shorter than our analysis would support. We feel that's an appropriate conservative decision based on adequate safety margin, and we'll do 100% tube inspection and repeat all the work we've done during that mid-cycle outage. So to summarize, as you think about this, the power reduction takes us out of the regime where fluid elastic instability would occur with significant margin. The preventive plugging of tubes adds even more margin, that I took tubes that would be susceptible at 100%, I took those out of service. And thirdly, a relatively short operating window, virtually a third of what could be justified by analysis.
I just want one clarification. I just want to make sure there's something that Ryan had said in an answer you'd given that I'm not sure if I heard it all correctly. You're saying here that this power reduction is preventing fluid elastic instability, and I thought I had heard before that there was a time period, basically, that it would prevent fluid elastic instability for a certain time period from occurring. Is it always prevented at 70%? Is that what you're saying, or is it prevented for the time period that you're proposing?
In one of the calculations, the statistical approach we used with AREVA, when we set the conservative 0.75 stability ratio, the criteria we set was not tube wear and tube integrity. It was much more conservative. We said no more than a 5% chance of FEI occurring. So the analysis shows that for up to an 8-month period at 70% power, FEI would not occur. Now, with further work and further analysis, we're confident we can extend that. This is a very conservative look at this, a very conservative analysis, which quite frankly is appropriate given the uniqueness of this phenomena and the first time occurrence of the phenomenon. Does that answer your question?
So I think so. So it's still, the probability of FEI occurring it's not going to occur within the 8-month period, is what you're saying?
That is correct.
But it could occur after that time period?
Here again, from a very conservative standpoint, what we assumed was at the start of the operating period, the support structure we analyzed with the statistical analysis provides certain support, certain damping. Just through normal wear, we're assuming some of those supports could become ineffective over an operating period. So we treated that statistically to say at what point potentially would enough supports become ineffective due to normal wear that would get us too close to a margin issue with fluid elastic instability. And we capped the operating period based on that.
So the fluid velocities and the void fractions would stay the same? Correct. And that wouldn't change at the 70, regardless of how long you're operating. It's just the support structure that's wearing and then allowing the tubes to start to move.
Wearing and becoming, say, less effective at providing damping. And that was a very conservative assumption, but we felt that was very appropriate at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
To summarize some additional confirmatory action letter response actions, we were very our equipment responded well, our operators responded well to the leak. We looked at our ability to detect even more minor leakage given the significance of this, and we've improved our ability to detect minor primary and secondary leakage. We've established more restrictive limits than had existed previously, and again, we ramped the plant down and took the plant off very quickly, but we now have more restrictive limits in place. We've enhanced the radiation monitors even further on the secondary system. And we've upgraded the vibration monitoring instrumentation around the outside of the steam generators to allow us to gather more data as we get ready to return to service at 70% power to further better understand the condition of the steam generators.
I've got a couple of questions on this slide. Can you kind of compare and contrast your detection capability between previously and now as far as the difference, the delta?
Doug, would you like to step in?
I sure will. When the leak occurred on Unit 3 on January 31st, the maximum leakage was about 80 gallons per day. Our system's alarmed at 30 gallons per day. And as Tom indicated, we safely shut down Unit 3, did a rapid down power. The operators responded properly and the systems responded properly. We have implemented several different methods to improve our leakage detection capability. Without getting too technical, one method is we're using what's called N16, nitrogen 16 monitors on the main steam line headers. Those monitors have a lower threshold of about 5 gallons per day. We've also improved our system response by injecting an inert gas called argon 40. Argon 40 in the reactor coolant system becomes argon 41 over time, and that, if you have a leak, using your off-gas system, the argon 41 is more easily detected by the system, and so your detectors become more sensitive, and we calibrate to that. So using the improved sensitivity, we've been able to go back and look at our operating response and our procedures and improve those procedures such that right now, if we have a leak, and it's a sustained leak of 5 gallons per day at the lower threshold, we will perform a normal shutdown.
Right.
And so we've made those changes to improve our sensitivity. We've changed and improved the procedures, and we've also tested and run those procedures on our simulator with all of our operating crews.
So the procedures have been changed to, so 5 gallons per day would be a shutdown versus like a night order, which would be a temporary?
That's correct. It's called an abnormal operating procedure, AOI as the operators call it. That procedure has been changed for the 5 gallons per day lower threshold, and the operators have been trained on it.
All right, thank you. And then for the tube bundle detection, you talk about your additional sensor. The question I have here is, how has that detector, especially in the upper bundle, been verified or to show that it could potentially pick up
What I'm talking about, what you're talking about, the vibration, the additional vibration monitoring we
Yes.
put at the tube sheet and up near the top tube support plate to better collect data related to what vibration might be going on inside the steam generator. As you're probably aware, these sensors are mounted on the shell of the steam generator. To test those and calibrate those with the plant shut down, we open the steam generator and use a calibrated impact hammer to see if a certain impact occurring between on a tube support plate is transmitted to the accelerometer pickup and detected. And that's how we tested it and calibrated that, to give us some better indication of what is occurring inside the steam generator.
What's that? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Tom, just one more question. A couple of components left in place. You've got the, you're going to have the vibration monitors and the enhanced radiation monitoring system. So some components, if those components become, they need maintenance, they break, what kind of commitments have you made to repair those in a certain amount of time? Treating them like any other piece of equipment that's covered in your tech specs or other operating procedures.
As you know, they're not tech spec required equipment.
Correct, that's why I asked the question.
From that standpoint, the key issue here in detecting leakage is well covered. The additional vibration monitoring instrument would be treated as a high priority piece of critical equipment and repaired in a timely manner.
Is it? Doug looks
Yeah,
like he
Mr.
wants
Lance,
to say something.
the vibration monitor system has actually 4 sensors, 2 different channels and 2 different locations. Tom indicated the ping testing that we did. So there's a redundant sensor on each of the 2 main channels. And although those are in the containment, the sensors during normal operation, at the first opportunity we would have, our procedures would require getting after and fixing the redundant sensor that had come out of service for whatever reason. Now we know that during this first run on Unit 2, using the vibration probes, we intend to collect data. We know that there's background vibration associated with operating the steam generator. So we understand that the primary goal during the first run here is to collect data and understand what those background noise levels are. And then in the future, when we see an anomaly, we'll understand that and be able to compare it against the background data. The radiation monitor system detectors are worked on based on operational priorities. They are not technical specification detectors. There's other backup redundant systems like drawing liquid samples from the steam generators that we can do if we lose a channel. However, there's a high operational priority based on restoring those to service. And before we enter any sort of power operation on Unit 2, we will ensure that all of the radiation monitor channels are in service.
Okay.
Okay, is that described in the CAL response also? Reliability of this additional equipment and how it will be maintained reliable? I don't know if that's in the CAL response or not.
I don't think how the equipment is maintained is in the CAL response. We have other procedures and operational priorities for doing that, including adding items to our operational focus list that is driven every day out of the plant department.
Okay.
But we'll definitely take a look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, conclusions.
I just had one follow-up question. So to understand, so for the new vibration sensors really don't have any, I say, operational limits associated with it. It's just data collection, and you'll go back and make that during the next operating cycle.
At this point, it's data collection, as Doug has
All right,
described.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, conclusions. First of all, in accordance with the requirements we committed to in the confirmatory action letter, we have performed a thorough investigation and determined the causes of the tube-to-tube wear that occurred in Unit 3. We've determined, again in conformance with the confirmatory action letter, the corrective actions to prevent loss of tube integrity in Unit 2. And we've implemented those actions. And those are fully described in the confirmatory action letter response. The corrective actions we've taken and summarized tonight are conservative, and there is considerable safety margin in it. We've met the requirements of the confirmatory action letter, and the bottom line is, Pete started the meeting, we've taken a very deliberate, conservative approach to the restart of Unit 2 to assure public health and safety. We recognize the significance of the phenomenon in Unit 3, the potential susceptibility of Unit 2, and have been very deliberate and conservative in our approach to restart of Unit 2. And again, that is well described, and we are looking forward to further dialogue with the staff to explain the basis for that.
I just had one question, Tom. So we're going to talk about path forward, next steps in terms of our reviews and future inspections in a few moments. And so some of this issue obviously will be inspected, but were any of these actions that were taken evaluated under 10 CFR 5059?
Oh, we've evaluated all this under 10 CFR
Yeah.
5059, and it is all evaluated and has been done in conformance with NRC requirements.
Thank you.
Okay, let me turn it back to Pete.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I know we've gone through a very specific and deliberate technical discussion here, and we've talked about a number of things. I'll just bring it back to, Southern California Edison's commitment, and that is that we take the safety of the public as well as our employees very, very seriously. And we feel that the technical level in which we've gone to over the last 8 months to fully understand the situation that we have and apply the appropriate and best levels of conservatism and safety margin to our conclusions is absolutely what's prudent. We talked about the methodology for the decision-making related to the technical evaluations and the technical challenge, but I'll also share with you that from an executive decision-making standpoint, I mentioned at the beginning that this was a very significant decision for the company and reached the highest levels of the company, including reviews with the board of directors. In the reviews that the executives had, we brought in additional challenge personnel, people with specific experience from within the industry, as well as some of the personnel from NPR who participated in that, and asked them their conclusions on the same issue. So certainly viewed as a very significant decision within the company, and that aligns with our commitment, which is protecting the health and safety of our employees and the public. We recognize that this is a lot to take in on a Friday evening. I do want to share with folks, if we can go to the next slide, that once again, all of our confirmatory action letter information is up on our website. Also, this presentation will go up on our website after this presentation tonight. On top of that, we have been conducting open house opportunities for members of the public to interface with the members of our steam generator team, with our employees, the folks who have been involved in this analysis. We've already conducted 2 open houses, one in Vista back in October, one in San Clemente here a few nights ago, and we do have one more planned this year in Laguna Hills. And as we go into the first of the year, we will be conducting additional open houses, and we'll make sure that that information is available to the public. We view that transparency and availability of our employees and our information to be very, very important. And we recognize the importance in ensuring that that information is available to the public. So, Mr. Howell, we thank you for the opportunity to present this information tonight, and we'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, sir. And we would propose that we go ahead and take our break now and close this part of the meeting, and then we'll finish up with some closing remarks after the Q&A session.
All right. I apologize. I do have
Please, they're still talking up here. That's right, and the purpose of this meeting is for these people to come.
Sophisticated art objects. You are building highly complex scientific.
Okay, we're gonna take a break.
Okay. I do have one final question.
We'll talk to you on the break, ma'am.
You've described in your CAL response for Unit 2, your plan for operation for the 5-month cycle at 70% power. I guess, can you address what your long-term plan beyond that would be, both for Unit 2 as well as Unit 3?
Well, we continue to conduct work using both our own staff as well as Mitsubishi and also, the experts that we have assembled. It's our intention to operate Unit 2 safely at 70% power, to confirm the results of our analysis and conclusions, and then continue to look forward to the future as far as what other operational opportunities or considerations need to be considered for Unit 2. We can see both longer periods of operation, based upon a successful period of operation, which we fully anticipate, longer periods of operation, potentially at 70% power, or with additional analysis and confirmation through our inspections, potentially raising the power output or proposing a raise in power output for Unit 2. So, we want to start with something that we know is safe, that we know has significant amounts of conservatism and safety margin in it, and then we'll move forward as we continue to gain information. And as you know, Mr. Broadus, that's how the industry has approached, many elements associated with steam generator issues, from the original detection of cracking to identifying some of the new phenomenon and other things within steam generators.
Yeah, we have.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And we do want you to hear Mr. Howell's closing remark about the path forward in terms of what the NRC is doing. So I'm going to go out to you for questions and circle through and get to all sections. I can tell you we're not going to be able to get to everybody at this point. You can fill out the comment form, submit questions, submit comments to the NRC in writing about this. The primary purpose of these Category 1 meetings is so that there can be a frank exchange between the licensee and the NRC, so that the NRC can evaluate what the licensee is proposing. But it's done in public for transparency purposes, so you can see what's going on. Please keep the questions. We got to try to keep it to 3 minutes, okay? Keep it to steam generator issues. Everybody wants to get a chance to talk, but if something has been said already that you want to say, you don't need to say it again. And we're going to start here, and we're going to go around, and I see a lot of enthusiasm out there.